Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to share information with you about the Creative Aging in Wyoming Public Libraries Initiative. This initiative is a partnership between the Wyoming Arts Council, the Wyoming State Library, and Lifetime Arts. My name is Nathan Majaros. I am the Deputy Director of Programming and Operations at Lifetime Arts. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be made available afterwards for review. Before we get started, I'd like to quickly review some housekeeping items. To fully participate in today's session, here are a few things for you to know about the Zoom platform. Lifetime Arts will be sharing our screen like you're seeing now. For the best view during today's session, we recommend that you use the side-by-side viewing mode. You can find this by clicking the View Options drop-down menu at the top of your screen next to the lime green button that says you are viewing Nathan's screen. Click the drop-down arrow and select side-by-side view. You can change the view of who you see in this mode by selecting either gallery view or speaker view on the top right of your screen. Speaker view will display the camera of the person actively speaking, while gallery view will show you a tiled display of everyone's camera as shown on the slide. We ask that you keep yourself muted unless you're otherwise directed in order to eliminate distractions and any background noise. To mute or unmute, click the microphone icon on the bottom left of your screen. A slash through the icon means you're muted. If you could, everyone please check on that now, that would be great. We also ask that you take the time right now to rename yourself on Zoom so people know your full name. Also feel free to list your organization or if you're a teaching artist. You can do so by clicking on the Participants tab. A menu should appear on the right side. Then click on the More button to the right of your name. You should see a drop-down menu with the option Rename. And if you have any questions or comments during the session at any time, feel free to type your comment in the chat function to everyone. You'll find the chat icon at the bottom of your screen in the middle of the toolbar. A staff member will see your chat and will do your best to read aloud your question or call on you during the Q&A portions of the session as time allows. And if you would like to save the chat from today's session, you can do so by opening the chat box and clicking on the three dots on the bottom right. Select Save Chat and the entire chat will be saved to your computer. All right. So now I would like to introduce Jamie Marcus from the Wyoming State Library and Taylor Craig and Josh Chrysler from the Wyoming Arts Council to say a few words and do some introductions. First, Jamie, would you like to say a few words?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Nathan. And thank you, everybody, for showing up this afternoon. I'm Jamie Marcus. I'm the Wyoming State Librarian, and I'm so excited to get this project off the ground. I first met with Lifetime Arts, oh boy, I'd have to say at least 5 or 6 years ago at a variety of meetings the state librarians attend, and we were looking for partnership opportunities. And we never quite found the right opportunity to bring Lifetime Arts and their training to Wyoming until about 1.5 years ago when we realized what a great project that working with Lifetime Arts and the Arts Council and the State Library and all of our libraries and meeting everybody together and getting everybody in the same room, having that opportunity to share what it is we all do together, ultimately to benefit our public library patrons, what an opportunity that would be. And then COVID hit. This training was originally planned to be done in person. We were going to roll it out last August. And the idea would be at this point in the project, we'd be wrapping things up, or I wouldn't say wrapping things up. We would be happily excited about how things went, and we'd be looking forward to our next steps, looking at future funding and other opportunities. I'm sorry to say that's not how things went, but I am overjoyed that we are finally here online today to talk about where we can go over the next year. So I thank you for showing up. I'm glad that you're here to learn about what we have planned. I hope that you interact both through this session and after this session and share your questions with either me at the State Library, our friends at the Art Council, so that we can create the best program possible. So thank you again for coming, and I'll turn it over to Taylor and Josh.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Like Jamie said, my name is Josh Chrysler. I'm on staff at the Wyoming Arts Council. We're also very excited about getting this project off the ground. And so we're looking forward to the webinar today and the trainings, which will be happening in March. Taylor and I also wanted to mention for any teaching artists on the call, if you have additional questions about the application process, please feel free to reach out to either of us directly. There should be a Q&A time at the end of today, but if we don't answer all your questions there, please feel free to reach out to us directly. And Taylor?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Taylor Craig, and I'm the Creative Arts Specialist at the Arts Council. I'll pretty much just echo everyone's sentiments about being excited and happy that you all are here. But wanted to take a moment to introduce myself so you could put a face to a name and know that yes, I'm one of the people that you can reach out to at the Arts Council to answer anything and talk to a human if you want to. So, thank you.
Thank you, Taylor and Josh. Up next, I'd also like to introduce Mara O'Malley, CEO and co-founder of Lifetime Arts, to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. Very excited also to finally get this program started. We've been enjoying our time over this past year working with the Wyoming State Arts Council and the State Library. You are in very good hands, and we, on the other side of the country here, are really excited to be working with you, and hopefully we'll get to meet you one of these days in person. In the meantime, you are in very good hands with Nathan and his team, and we are happy to be partners with you here at Lifetime Arts. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mara. All right, and a little bit of background about Lifetime Arts, if you're not familiar with us. Lifetime Arts is a not-for-profit service organization with the primary mission of promoting arts education for older adults. Lifetime Arts connects the people, funding, ideas, and strategies necessary to increase the number and quality of professional arts programs for older adults. By helping to develop policy, sharing best practices, and providing technical assistance, we help organizations and individuals build livable communities for all ages. All right, so for today, we're going to introduce Creative Aging. What is it? We'll give an overview of this project. We'll talk about the upcoming training opportunities and also next steps. And then we're going to close out with the Q&As to answer any questions that you may have. So what is creative aging? It's using the arts to improve the quality of life of older adults through creative expression and social engagement. Creative aging focuses on older adults who are 55 and better, as we say. It is skill-based, sequential, participatory, instructional arts programs, and it's in all the disciplines: literary, visual, performing, music, dance, theater, all of the artistic disciplines that you can think of. And it includes this intentional opportunity designed to engage people socially. So essentially, it's learning a new skill in the arts, and it's making new friends in the process. A little bit of background information about this initiative. With the overarching goal of improving the lives of Wyoming's older adults, in partnership with the Wyoming Arts Council and the Wyoming State Library, Lifetime Arts will work with selected teaching artists and selected Wyoming Public Libraries in up to 23 counties to build their capacities to develop, implement, and sustain high-quality creative aging programming. This initiative offers creative aging training coupled with seed funding to build the capacities of stakeholders. Ultimately, we're looking at having libraries plan and implement up to 46 creative aging programs across the state of Wyoming that are designed and facilitated by Wyoming teaching artists. We're breaking this project down into 4 phases. We have the first phase of planning and preparation, which us and the partners have just passed, and we're moving into this orientation and training phase starting today, starting right now. And this will go until March with the actual training sessions. Following that phase will be a program development phase. And from March to May of this year, that's where the program planning will begin, where we, Lifetime Arts, will provide program support to help the planning of and the actual implementation of the programs. Ultimately, as I said, those 46 programs will be implemented between June of this year to May of 2022. Let's look a little bit more at those details. So the training schedule, phase 2 is focused on training in order to build a critical mass of stakeholders across the state. The initiative will offer free training for 2 different groups, 1 library staff and 2 teaching artists. Each training can accommodate 2 cohorts, a morning cohort and an afternoon or evening cohort. And within each cohort, it's up to 25 participants. So a total of 50 people for each group, 50 library staff, 50 teaching artists. Each cohort will attend 3 2-hour sessions. And for the library staff, that's March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And for teaching artists, that's March 8th, 9th, and 10th. A little bit about the program implementation and what a creative aging program looks like. So the program, as I said, can be done in any of the art forms. However, the art form choice should be responsive to the interest of the communities that are being served, and Lifetime Arts will help you determine that. Also, all the programs will be taught by professional teaching artists, which Lifetime Arts will also help identify and pair libraries with. A quick note, what do I mean about a professional teaching artist? And most simply, it's that the teaching artists are paid for their time planning and for facilitating the program, and that they're not volunteers. And further, you know, some of the teaching artists that we've worked in the past have never heard of the term teaching artist. Like, what does a teaching artist mean? And essentially, it really is, if you have a knowledge of an art form of craft and you want to and have a willingness to work in the community to teach those programs. The qualifications of which can range greatly. So if that term teaching artist or professional is worrying you, I invite you to ask questions about what we mean by that, and you know, specifically look at, you know, your individual qualifications. As I said earlier, each of these sessions, in addition to sort of building skills in an art form, is including intentional social engagement, which is intentional in the design of the curriculum and execution of these programs. And all of these programs have a culminating event at the end of them, where it's open to the public and friends and family can attend to celebrate the accomplishments of what's learned within the class. Specifically for this initiative that we're talking about, there's the opportunity for these programs to either be delivered in person or also delivered remotely. And they look a little bit differently. Remote delivery can look something like today's webinar, a Zoom, you know, virtual meeting. It can be something like a teleconference. There's a lot of flexibility around what that means. And in the training, we'll go into more depth about what needs to go into remote delivery and adaptations that can be made to be successful. The format will also look slightly different, but what remains is a focus on the sequential skill building and intentional social engagement, whether it's in person or delivered remotely. We're still going to learn something new, and we're still going to make friends. Also, whether it's remote or if it's in person, there's still that culminating event. So it might be a virtual culminating event versus a, you know, public gallery or a public sharing of artworks. Specifically for in-person programs, we're looking at least 8 sessions, and each of those sessions are at least 90 minutes in length. The in-person has a culminating event. For the remote programs, we're looking at least 4 synchronous sessions and 3 asynchronous sessions. A quick note, what does that mean? So a synchronous session is essentially a session that is live where all participants are coming together in sync together, where asynchronous would be sort of what's happening in between the classes. And, you know, that's something like homework or another specific activity, like everybody's watching a video on their own time. It's essentially work that is prescribed but is done at the participants' sort of leisure in between classes. What we have found that these classes are also a little bit shorter, 45 to 90 minutes in length at least. And again, there's a culminating event And the outcomes, the impact of this initiative, through these 46 programs across the 23 counties, we're looking to serve up to 700 older adults aged from 55 to 105 years old. They will participate in sequential skill building workshops. Each program will have the co-main event free and open to the community, which will reach up to another 1,500 people across the state. So let's take a deeper look at the training. So we're pivoting to virtual training. These virtual trainings will still be highly experiential and led by lifetime arts trainers, where participants will learn how to initiate, develop, and implement professionally conducted arts education programs for older adults in their communities. The training will address community partnerships and how these can support sustainability efforts. Additionally, the participants will experience a demo creative aging class and analyze its impact so that they can understand the impact that it has on older adults. And here's some topics that we will go over. And again, this is over three sessions that are 2 hours each. We're going to talk about the impact of ageism on program design and delivery, creative aging best practices, adult learning. We're going to talk about exemplary creative aging programs so you can find some inspiration and see how others have approached this work. We'll talk about how to identify and engage and work with teaching artists. We're also going to go into depth about marketing and promotion and best tips and practices around reaching older adults to get them to register. We'll talk about program design and curriculum. We'll talk about how to document your programs and best practices in evaluation. The big one will be if you choose to do a remote program, we'll talk about the adaptations that need to be made in order to deliver these programs remotely. We'll talk about community partnerships and also strategies for sustainability. And then seed funding. In order to be eligible for the seed funding, libraries must participate in the full training. You must commit to the follow-up technical assistance activities if selected, and demonstrate an intent to sustain the programming beyond the pilot, and must have access to either an appropriate space or the ability to host remote programs. So really the next steps would be to sign up for the upcoming trainings if you're interested. Now for library staff, you can register for the training via a link on the Lifetime Arts website, which is listed here. Then also for teaching artists, you must apply via the Wyoming Arts Council to attend the training. And you may submit that application by visiting the bit.ly link shown here. And that's really the next step. So now I'm going to open it up for questions and answers. So I invite you to use the chat function to submit a question. And we can, yes, thank you, Jamie. Jamie just posted the link for the library staff. And Taylor or Craig, I'm not sure if you want to post the bit.ly link in the chat so the teaching artists can see where to apply. So I'm going to drop the slide. Actually, I'll keep the slides up now for now in case anyone has a question. I can refer back to them. But if anybody has a question, please feel free to drop a question in the chat. So Deborah has a great question. How are artists and libraries linked together? So there's multiple ways that this is going to occur. One, for teaching artists that attend the training, you are essentially entering a pool of teaching artists that are qualified and more visible to the libraries and these programs. So that's one way, just by simply attending the training, you sort of put yourself in a pool of these 50 teaching artists that have gone through the training. But libraries don't necessarily have to select teaching artists that have gone through the training. So if a library is familiar with a teaching artist in their community, they may also either encourage them to attend the training or also link up with them to teach the program. Similar question, Manny asked, should we be recruiting local teaching artists to apply, or is there a slate of artists already doing the training? So it's going to be both. And I think that it's also going to have to depend on what type of remote or what type of program delivery you opt to do. If the programs are in person, we're going to want to have teaching artists that are in proximity to wherever the program's happening. But if the program is designed remotely, that sort of opens it up. It opens up the sort of geographical borders. So it does not necessarily have to be in proximity to the library. Another question, will we work with multiple artists or have a series with a single artist? So that's another great question. So each program, which is what we said, like at least the 8 sessions, if done in person, will be with one artist or artists. These programs can be co-taught, and it has been done in the past. But essentially, there's usually 1 or 2 teaching artists that are leading it, that sort of design the arc of the program and facilitate the whole thing. To bring in sort of a bunch of artists to teach, the goal is to teach a single art form in a sequential nature. So it works best to work with, 1 or 2 teaching artists at most, if that makes sense. So for one program, 1 to 2 teaching artists. Another question, being a county library with multiple locations, can the programs be spread out through different locations and towns, and can it also be both in-person and virtual? Yes, another great question. So I believe that is possible. So libraries that are able to offer multiple programs can do it in multiple sites. I would recommend that a single program series, the 8 sessions, happen in one place at a time. The goal is to have the same participants go through an entire program. So to sort of stick with, a consistent place, but to do one program then another program is totally fine. And yes, I believe that you can also do, a program virtual and a program in person. I don't recommend having a single program span those gaps to have sort of in-person and virtual components to that. It's easiest to do, it's all in person, it's all virtual. Another great question, what about COVID issues? We have not been doing a lot of programs right now. And that's absolutely something to be concerned about and something to think about. Initially, when we were planning this initiative, feels like years ago, we were planning to do all in-person programming. However, that's why we have pivoted to also including this remote adaptations to these programs. And ultimately, it's going to be depending on sort of the climate at the time and what you're able to offer, whether you're restricted to doing only virtual if in-person is not even an option, depending on CDC guidelines and things like that. So it's something that we'll sort of be monitoring, but ultimately we're going to leave it up to each of you and your communities to decide what is the best to deliver. Greg Helm asked, what are the participating libraries? And the answer is, we're not sure yet. This is just the overview, the orientation to this project. After the training, there will be a process in identifying which libraries want to participate in this. So right now, we're not sure. I'm not sure if everyone saw the chat from Josh from the Arts Council, but he's encouraging that if you do know teaching artists in your community, encourage them to apply to the training. Jen Burton asked, are the libraries responsible for purchasing art supplies for the participants? What is the compensation for the artists? So these are both really good questions, and we'll go more in depth into this in the actual training. And depending on how the programs are delivered, essentially, yes, most often the libraries are responsible for purchasing of the art supplies with help from the teaching artist, making a sort of supply list. For the compensation for teaching artists, we go into this more in the training, but essentially teaching artists are paid for their time doing the actual instruction. So if it's 90 minutes, it's 8 sessions times 90 minutes times a rate. And then they're also budgeted for time that they do planning and prep, and also time spent at the culminating event. On average, and we work nationally, so the instruction rate that we say on average is $75 an hour for instruction, and planning and prep is roughly half of that. However, that's going to vary greatly, one across the country and from sort of region to region. But we can talk more about that, and we can also provide guidance on how to determine, what is a fair rate.
Nathan, this is Jamie. Can I jump in here for just a second?
You certainly may, please.
Sure. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that all Wyoming public library systems are invited to this training. This is not an application process for the libraries at all. More information will be sent to directors. And if you attend and you go through the training, we will be offering you approximately $2,000 to every system to implement a program. There may be a little bit more, but it'll be right around the $2,000 mark as of right now. So there will be, based on Nathan's estimate of about $1,000-ish for a teaching artist, there will be some money left over there for some supplies. There will be some other opportunities and things that might be available that you can work within your budget to suit the needs of your county or the program that you want to put together. So this is not exactly prescriptive. You're given the options, the training, and hopefully you will take what it is you're looking forward to doing and find an artist that complements that, either because of some of your strategic goals or because you've got some really cool things going on in your county. And I see that there are a couple other questions in here about some of our older adults not having access to computers, and what does that mean? Well, again, you are most definitely allowed to adapt, work within this program to suit the needs of your county. We're not looking for you to roll something out in April or May or June. There will be plenty of time in the training for you to think about it. And maybe this fall is a better time for you. And there may be some other options. Maybe you can, for example, use a teaching artist to do some of this training at one of your retirement centers, right? So you've got a group that is already COVID eligible to be in the room together, but you're not putting the artist in that same room for COVID reasons because you're doing that distance. There are lots of opportunities. So thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. And I think that's also a really good point to emphasize is that through this initiative, we're really working with all of you to do what's best for your communities and work within sort of your parameters. So everything from partnerships to identifying what is the best type of program to do, and budgeting, we're going to sort of work with all of you to help you determine those things. And the training will also sort of answer a lot of those questions too. Another point about the note about many of our adults are not comfortable with computers or do not have access, and you're absolutely right. And so this is another thing that will help you sort of sort through is perhaps it's a teleconference program where people are calling in. So, most people are comfortable using a telephone. So we can also sort of help you determine, based upon your community needs, what's an appropriate rollout. Another question about, are there travel stipends and gas money for things like gas money? And that can be included in the budget. As Jamie also pointed out, the budget is sort of adaptive and not sort of super prescriptive. So it can be used if people are traveling long distances. And Mary also said plein air painting as a possible thing, and that's actually really great. And it's something we have seen done where we're doing socially distanced art programming outside that is safe and also really fun. So thank you for saying that. And Judy asked, does the payment to the teachers come out of the $2,000 the libraries get? And yes, it does. So libraries will have the budget, and essentially it'll go towards teaching artist fees and program expenses, which would include art materials and then other expenses, whether it's a travel stipend, maybe there's some shipping involved, things like that. So yes. All really good questions. Thank you everybody for asking those. We still have time for a little bit more questions. I'm not sure, Taylor or Josh, do you want to say a few words about the teaching artist application for the teaching artists that are on the line?
Sure, we can talk a little bit more about that. Taylor had posted in the chat a link to the application for teaching artists. If you scroll back up, you can find it, or maybe we can get her to post it again down there at the bottom. But there we go. Thank you, Taylor. But yeah, so the application process for us is a little bit different than it is for the librarians. Like Jamie had mentioned, they're not doing an application process at all in the same way that we are. But we just ask for a little bit of information about yourself, information about art practice, and sort of why you're interested in participating in this type of programming. The application, we're accepting them through a week from today, so through next Wednesday. So we've still got a week to go that we're accepting applications. And like I had mentioned in the chat, librarians who are on the line, if you have artists in your community that you have worked with in the past or that you want to work with in the future with this program, please encourage them to apply to participate in the training as well. But yeah, like I said, we'll be accepting applications through next week, and then we'll be turning around and letting artists know if they're selected to participate as quickly as we can after that. Taylor, do you have anything to add?
Just that there is the part of the application that asks about, your teaching artist experience or teaching experience. And I just wanted to echo kind of what Nathan said in the beginning, which is we're not asking that you have to be quote unquote professional teaching artist. We're just interested in whether you have actually taught your art in some capacity, and that does not mean to older adults necessarily. We just want to know what kind of experience you maybe have. So if you have questions about that, I don't want that to scare you away if you think you need to have that, a high level of teaching artist experience. And then I would just echo that, maybe echo isn't the right word, but I will say that you don't need to have experience teaching older adults. So you can be an artist who has, maybe taught K through 12 or, taught at a festival or something like that, but you don't need to have experience teaching older adults. And this training is really meant to give you that insight. So like Josh said, if you know artists who would be interested in learning the skills of working with older adults, this is perfect for them, even if they haven't done it.
Thank you, Josh and Taylor. And one more question that has come in, do all participants need to be elderly, or can there be cross-generational projects? And there can be. Intergenerational programming is certainly a thing that can happen. I will be transparent that it is tricky, and that specifically we would want to still see in terms of participation, for these programs, we typically want to see at least 10 older adults participate. So with an intergenerational program, we would still want to see at least 10 older adults paired with, 10 other generation. But yes, it can be done. They're wonderful programs. They are a little bit trickier, but it can certainly be done. Angela asked, I didn't mention my art degree in the application. Was there a way, or do I need to send you a resume in connection to my application if I already submitted?
I think that if you want to, you can shoot me or Taylor an email if you want to add a resume or something, but it's not something that we've required in our application. But if you feel the need to, you can send us a resume directly through email.
Great, thank you. All right. Well, I will also say, as was mentioned earlier, that if anybody does have questions, please feel free to reach out either to the Arts Council, to the State Library, or even to Lifetime Arts if you have any specific questions. This webinar will be recorded. I am going to, again, pop up the next steps so everyone can see These are the links that, if you're interested, I encourage you to register for the upcoming trainings. These are the dates. Again, there's 2 cohorts, so there's a morning or afternoon, evening session. So pick the one that works best for you. Otherwise, we will post this recording, and we encourage you to reach out with any questions. So thank you for attending, and have a great day.